Let's pause for silence. Om. So currently we are studying the first topic of chapter 5, the present predicament. And in that topic, we read and discussed the first 5 points. So if you look at the thought flow, the chapter is called the present crisis. The present crisis is brought about by attachment, by possessiveness. And attachment and possessiveness are created because of weak intellect. And then he is explaining what is that predicament, why it is continuing. So we discussed the 5 points. So the first point is people cannot correlate what is happening to them to weak intellect. That is the main problem. So if you are able to correlate all your internal and external problems are nothing but product of your weak intellect, which includes attachment and possessiveness. If you understand that, immediately you will start putting efforts, but you can't correlate. For that correlation itself, you need relatively powerful intellect, or at least you should be aware of this knowledge. So that was the first point. Second point is your ego can come in the way, or in most cases, it comes in the way. I'm successful in a particular field. Fine. So we are not saying you're not successful. But in good many cases, it is nothing but intelligence. You have acquired a knowledge of a particular subject and you are trading that knowledge with people who don't have that particular knowledge. We're not saying it is wrong. So it is intelligence. But to apply that knowledge to excel in your own field in a true sense of the term, you need a strong intellect. To manage your personal life, professional life, to manage your life as such, you need a powerful intellect. So, person may be successful, but his or her personal life could be in absolute chaos. I mean, there are n number of examples. You do your own study, you do your own research, and you come to a conclusion. Third problem is you are totally preoccupied in life, totally preoccupied. And throughout life, this preoccupation continues. That's the problem. Right from childhood till the end. Like busy, busy. And you don't have time to investigate life. Now, Vedanta is a subject which deals with your life, not anybody else's life. It deals with your life directly. What is your life all about? What is the purpose of your life? How to live life? How do I find true fulfillment? How do I find success? How do I become more productive? How do I find harmony in my life, at home, everywhere? So that's the subject matter of Vedanta. This is what we are studying. But due to your preoccupation, you have no time to investigate life. So it's a paradox. Then the fourth point was author Schopenhauer's quotation that if you don't have an intellect, it is not visible to you. Intellect is invisible to a man who has none. I mean, it is there, but you don't see it. See, when you go hiking or in some places, even in a like trail in the city, there is a sign, poison ivy. Why do they put that sign? It is there, but we don't see it because we don't have the knowledge. So when they put that warning, poison ivy, we become aware. So a person who has no knowledge, for him that poison ivy is invisible, though it is there, though he is seeing it. So therefore, author Schopenhauer is saying it is invisible to a person who has none, which is most of us. And the fifth problem was it takes a while for your intellect to build. It's not going to happen suddenly. So even muscles, it takes a while. If you're down with flu, and sometimes the illness continues, could be for 1 month, 2 months, couple of months. See, there is a visible difference between the power of your muscles, isn't it? So to go back to your original, strength, it takes a while. So intellect has been weak for a while, whole life, in fact. So when you start putting efforts, results are not going to show immediately. Of course, something is happening every day, but it's not, the result is not seen. So therefore, a lot of people, they are not enthused to put efforts. So you need to put consistent efforts. And how you do that solution, that's the last paragraph, is nothing but a structured study of Vedanta. I think that was somebody's question, I think Radha's question last week. Like you asked like 1, 2, 3 questions. Is study of scriptures is the solution? Is building intellect is the solution? Study of scriptures equals building intellect. There is no other purpose. We are not studying Vedanta to become scholars. The only reason, only purpose you study any scripture, whether it is Bhagavad Gita, Upanishad, Bible, Quran, Guru Granth Sahib, any scripture, The only purpose is intellect. Because when you have strong intellect, it will do two things. You will be able to manage your life, and the same intellect will take you to the transcendental. If intellect is weak, forget about going to the transcendental. You will be completely enmeshed, caught up, and perhaps crushed by the world. So, therefore, the only purpose of studying scriptures is to build our intellect. So, these were the 5 reasons, and we'll read the last paragraph. Are we okay? Anything not clear? Anything needs more explanation? All right. So, Raji, last paragraph, please.
The above analysis shows the practical difficulties that humans face in building their intellect. Hence, the intellect has remained unattended, undeveloped for centuries on end. Generations after generations, bereft of intellectual strength, have been living a passive life, succumbing to the devastating effects of an ungoverned mind. The people of the world must wake up to this reality, recognize the importance of developing the intellect. The international organizations in charge of human affairs must coalesce with the governments and educational institutions to prepare a well-designed program to resurrect the human intellect. The curriculum at the Vedanta Academy follows the literature contained in the complete works of Swami Parthasarathi. It is a specially designed course for the construction of the intellect for people of all denominations, classes, and creeds. It has to be widened, introduced in all countries to meet the needs of the entire human race. It calls for emergent action to avoid the virus of attachment threatening to destroy the world.
The international organizations in charge of human affairs must coalesce with the governments and educational institutions to prepare a well designed program to resurrect the human intellect. So, at least you can make that commitment to yourself, resurrection of intellect. And today is the right day, isn't it? Today is Easter. Easter is about resurrection of Christ, meaning values, meaning intellect. But the difficulty or problem is, see, you get used to a life minus intellect. When mind overpowers, naturally it's going to produce agitations, worry, anxiety, conflict, confrontation. It's a question of more or less. And you feel it is normal. So you get used to it, you get acclimatized to it. Just as any physical injury, if it continues for a while, it could be there is a pain in the neck, or you could be having a frozen shoulder. You get acclimatized to it after a while. See, personally, I've been fighting this frozen shoulder for a while now, 1.5 years. I would say 80-90% I have recovered, but still like 20% is left. So I feel okay, I'm almost normal, but I'm not normal. When I try to lift certain weights in a gym. Still, I can't do that. It hurts. That means it is not normal. But is it affecting my day-to-day life? Answer is yes and no. It is affecting, but I have accepted. Okay, this is normal. So if you accept, I'm giving you example at a physical level, so it's easy to understand. So you believe it is normal, you get used to it, you get acclimatized to it. But it's not so. That's not your original physical fitness. So similarly, being peaceful, having no agitations, that ability to live in peace and harmony with others, including your family members, in fact, to begin with, that is normal. That what we see is stress, strain, worry. So many conflicts are happening, society in the world. So we get used to it. It's not, it's abnormal condition. And if you don't attend to it as far as your own life is concerned, same principle applies even at a society level, then it flares up, it aggravates. Every other person, he or she is talking about, mental wellness issue. What is this mental wellness issue? Depression, this and that. It's all these abnormal symptoms. 30 years back, 40 years back, nobody had heard about depression in children. I mean, anybody who is born and brought up in America, I'm not talking about other nationals, those who are born and brought up in America, 25 years back, 30 years back. Tim, were you aware of that word when you were growing? What depression? 7, 8th grade. Today is quite common. I think I gave this example long time back. There's a teacher who attends our classes, American lady, white lady, and I think she's either principal or head of some department in a well-known public school in one of the suburbs in New Jersey. So she's saying every other day in a week, on an average, there are 4 to 5 major conflicts among the kids, like hitting each other and all that. We're not talking about like a verbal thing, but in a major way. Somebody gets a bloody nose, one child lost his tooth and all that. And she's saying 8, 10 years back, few times in a year it used to happen. The kids will fight, but hitting each other and all that was a rare thing. So on an average, 4 to 5 major instances of kids hitting each other. See, how do you know there is a problem? You know it by symptoms. So this is how it aggravates if you don't attend to it. Same thing is happening to you and me. It's a question of more or less. So if you don't fix it in the initial stages, it is bound to aggravate. A relationship, if you don't resolve your issues, 99.99% of the times it is nothing but misunderstanding, because there is no intellect. But if you have a dialogue with your partner and you try to find out, hey, what's happening, I mean, by your own discussion, you'll understand that there is no problem. Or if there is a problem, yes, we can resolve it. But if you do not address that, it will aggravate. It will start with that bitterness. It might develop into negative feelings like hatred or whatever, and it may end up in separation. This is how people separate. So you need to address it in the initial stage. Same thing about your attachments. Every parent is tremendously possessive about their children. And if you're not careful, you may have this knowledge, but you need to apply this. If you're not careful, again, it will flare up. And there are so many examples where children, they don't even pick up their parents' call. Mom is calling, dad is calling, they ignore. I mean, oh my God, mom is calling. But they can't handle that. They feel choked up. And if you continue doing that, it will create a major rift between parents and children. I mean, every other family I see it happening. So you need to understand it, you need to address it. I'm trying to give practical examples. So, how you do it? Solution is systematic study of Vedanta. There is no other way. There are no shortcuts. So, these are the main points in the first topic. So, any doubts? Yes.
Amici, you told the only purpose of the study is to develop the intellect. Yes. And then with this knowledge, if we pursue it and put efforts, we can develop our intellect, function in the world at a gross level, and also reach the higher. But we see a lot of, a few people in the world having higher gross intellect. They're able to manage so many things outside. But why aren't they able to use that in the subtle? Is it the lack of knowledge again? They seem to have a weak, subtle intellect. They seem to be smart and managing so many things. But why is that not seen sometimes in some cases?
See, there are 2 points here. When you say somebody is having a strong, powerful, gross intellect, I will put a question mark there. I'm not saying nobody is having powerful gross intellect, but most cases, what you say that he has a powerful intellect, he's smart, it is nothing but intelligence. I'm not saying you're entirely wrong. Answer is yes, answer is no. You go by the external paraphernalia. This is a common mistake people make. You see that guy living in a 10,000 square feet home, the most prestigious part of the city. He's got all luxury cars. Children, they are gone to best of schools, private schools, go on a vacation, very high in his career. I'm doing, the talk
Yes.
for the corporates, the CEO. I've been doing it for a long time. So I'm not getting into the details. I would say 80% of them, their personal life is an absolute mess. I mean, I can't give you the details. You should understand the message. Big time mess. It's not an ordinary mess. And even the way they are managing their own business, in many cases, it is absolutely chaotic. By fluke, business is running. It's not because they are doing right things. So in most cases, it is like that. But let's assume that somebody has a powerful intellect. We can't say nobody has that. Yes, there are people, maybe minority, but yes, they could have powerful gross intellect. But to think of the higher, what's my purpose in life? What is this supreme reality? How do I find true fulfillment in life? So to question on these lines, you need a powerful subtle intellect, and subtle intellect is dormant when you are inundated with desires. So that is cause and effect relationship. So therefore, when you get this knowledge, you slowly but surely start offloading your desires. And when you start offloading your desires, your subtle intellect surfaces. It is always there. Every human being has a subtle intellect by default. You have. It's a God's gift, as it were, to all of us. But due to too many desires, that call never comes. So that is cause and effect relationship.
Follow up, Amiji, on that is that is it conceivable to have, is it possible to have strong gross intellect and hardly no or weak subtle intellect? Or is that
Sorry, can you repeat?
the existence of powerful gross intellect and hardly none or weak subtle intellect, does that exist, or is it just a reflection of the self-centeredness on the part of the individual because of desires?
Most people who have powerful gross intellect, they don't have subtle intellect at all. It's not as a rule. You find out by your own. I mean, you're a successful doctor yourself. Uncle keeps telling me, Uncle Mohe, this doctor, that person. I'm not talking about medical community. As an example, I'm discussing, you can't, some of them, they have powerful intellect. The last 20 years, Uncle is trying to appeal to them, at least one lecture you should attend. No, I'm going on a cruise. After I come back, maybe after I come back from the cruise, something happens. But they are successful, but there is no subtle intellect developed. So most people are like that because of desires. That was Radha's question. But if a person who applies, who has a powerful gross intellect, if that awakening comes, then for him, study of scriptures is very easy. Because you need a powerful intellect. Relatively speaking, you need a powerful intellect to understand scriptures. It's nothing but logic and reason. So therefore, Swamiji says you're doing e-learning, so you know what I am saying. That if you have mathematical background, if you have studied mathematics, it is definitely an added advantage to study Vedanta. So if such a person takes to study of scriptures, it will be very easy for him. But to answer your question, what prevents him or her is desires. So that desire clouds his subtle intellect.
Thank you.
So are we okay?
Yes, Amiji. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Kamleshji, please.
If the person has a very sharp spiritual intellect, but they have a weak gross intellect,
Yeah.
how does it affect the person? And is there examples of that who has a sharp spiritual intellect but a weak gross intellect? Is it possible?
Guys, it's very much possible. See, in fact, it's a rare combination. You have both sharp, subtle intellect and sharp gross intellect. Is rare. Swami Parthasarthi is example. I mean, par excellence, subtle intellect, par excellence, gross intellect. See, when we have these retreats, one of the activities is to take students who attends the retreat, to take them to see them. We take them to see Swamiji's room, and the way everything is organized there, it's like a museum. No shop can come close to that display. So you need powerful intellect to do that, gross intellect, or to manage your finances, to manage institution, to manage your family affairs. You need a very powerful gross intellect. But to answer your question, person may have a powerful subtle intellect, but he may not apply himself in the terrestrial world. Usually that is the case. So therefore, you will find that as far as their finances are concerned, they don't know how to manage their finances. They may give their money to somebody may cheat them, they may not be very tech savvy, basic things they may not know. So it is very much possible. So the ideal thing is you have to have powerful subtle intellect and gross intellect. But when you have powerful subtle intellect, to apply it in a terrestrial world, in day-to-day world, is very easy. If that person, if he decides to apply himself, it's no big deal. But most of them, they don't apply themselves. That's the problem. See, that's the symbolism behind Ganesha's trunk. You know that, right? We all worship. It's all symbolic, this Ganesha. So he has a large head. It symbolizes nothing but wisdom. And from that wisdom, that large head protrudes the trunk, elephant's trunk. Now, elephant's trunk has got unique capacity. It can uproot the tree, and also it can pick up a needle. See, those who are from India, they will know what I am talking about. Sometimes you see elephants on the street, and people give them coins, like small coin, pennies. It picks up and it gives it to the mahout. It's fascinating to see that such a huge muscle, that organ picks up a tiny little coin or a needle, but the same trunk can uproot the tree. So it all symbolic. So if you have that wisdom, you have that capacity to apply yourself in day-to-day life, and also you deal with subtle themes of life, the transcendental. So that is an ideal seeker. But to answer your question, good many cases it is like that.
Thank you.
Amitji, I have a question very similar. It's a very complex topic about this gross and subtle intellect.
Right.
You can just explain one more time in more simple words the definition of both. I think it will clarify, reinforce actually
Yeah, sure.
answer.
See, when we talk about gross intellect, subtle intellect, it is nothing but intellect. See, every human being has got body, mind, intellect. If you understand the basics, it is
Right.
very clear. Body on its own cannot act.
Mm.
It is just a vehicle. So something is driving our body to act. Whatever activities we are doing, there is some force inside us which is allowing us to do that. So that propelling force is mind and intellect. There is no other equipment. So mind is feelings, emotions, likes and dislikes. So you can act in life, throughout your life, on impulses, feelings, whims and fancies, and likes and dislikes of your life, all facets of your life. Or the second possibility is you think, you reason, you analyze, you understand, and then you act. So that faculty of thinking, reasoning, analyzing before acting is called as intellect, buddhi. Now this buddhi, this intellect has got two functions. Gross intellect is called as tikshna buddhi. Since you're from India, you will understand this word. And subtle intellect is called as sukshma buddhi.
Sukshma.
So gross intellect is called as tikshna buddhi, and subtle intellect is called as sukshma buddhi.
Sukshma buddhi.
So when you apply this faculty of thinking, reasoning, understanding, logic, and reason in day-to-day life, in terrestrial world, you are using the gross intellect.
Intellect.
And it could be for a very basic thing. Like if you have a pet, that pet also is using its gross intellect. It understands the difference between master and a stranger. It understands the difference between food and dirt, male, female. Basic things they understand. So it's a very gross intellect. I mean, the very basic function of the gross intellect. So from that to a very finely developed gross intellect of a nuclear scientist. They're doing their research on quantum physics and very fine aspects. But still, it is in the realm of the terrestrial world. Now, on the other hand, you start using subtle intellect the moment you start questioning, is there anything beyond this world? Is there anything beyond body, mind, intellect? Then you are employing your subtle intellect, sukshma buddhi. And again, that subtle intellect could be very basic. There is very rudimentary inquiry in you about, okay, what's my purpose in life? Is there something beyond this world? Bhagwan hai kya is dunya mein? Is there a God in this world? But you are questioning. So from that to, if you study Vedanta treatise or even in Bhagavad Gita, you will find they talk about the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic illusion. It's all like using your subtle intellect. So it's same intellect, buddhi, depends on its area of operation. If you use that intellect in the terrestrial world, that function of the intellect is called as gross. But the same intellect you use to think about something beyond the world, terrestrial, extraterrestrial, then you are using subtle intellect. Number one, I'm repeating.
Yes.
Gross intellect can be very rudimentary, or gross intellect can be very powerful. Similarly, subtle intellect can be very rudimentary, and subtle intellect can be very powerful. If your subtle intellect is powerful, I mean, you'll be in a different frequency altogether. I mean, no matter what world throws at you, you may have best of everything. You understand, I mean, this is not the ultimate purpose of life. You continue whatever obligations you have.
Right.
But inside you are a different person. The word which we use is mumukshatva. That burning desire, mumukshatva. 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 Mumukshatva, that burning desire for liberation, that burning desire to break free from this terrestrial entanglement. You feel suffocated. No, I mean, this is not life all about. Then you are using your subtle intellect. So that's the basic difference. So it is nothing but buddhi. Tikshna buddhi, sukshma buddhi. Gross intellect, subtle intellect.
So I think whenever, in whichever situation in life, when you go beyond your general intellect, and the subtle creeps in, the subtle intellect, when you are thinking beyond your normal or standard thinking, so you're entering the subtle intellect, if I'm got it right.
No, not necessarily. See, therefore, I gave you in-depth explanation. Even in the gross world, you could be thinking about the unknown. There, I mean, like a nuclear scientist, he goes on doing research, but still it is in the realm of the terrestrial world. So that's the major distinction. If you are thinking, reasoning, analyzing anything about the terrestrial world, the empirical world we all are experiencing, you are using gross intellect.
Gross
The
intellect.
moment you start thinking about is
Beyond,
there anything beyond this world,
beyond.
you are using subtle intellect. So that's the very broad distinction. And
Thank-
again, like I said, it could be very rudimentary questioning, or it could be very advanced questioning in both gross level, subtle level.
Thank you. I think it's much clearer now.
Amaji, can one use gross and subtle intellect simultaneously?
See, when we say gross intellect, subtle intellect, it's not that they are two different faculties.
Okay.
It is intellect, it's buddhi. It depends on in which area are you using it. Now you go to your financial planner and you have a discussion with him and you tell him, okay, invest here, I think this investment is not good. So you discuss, you have that in-depth discussion with him. You are using your gross intellect. And from financial planner, you come for Vedanta class and you're asking, what's the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic illusion? You're using subtle intellect. So it's the same intellect, it depends on the area of operation. See, therefore, I've been insisting on that. Area of operation. If area of operation is terrestrial world, you're using the grosser function of the intellect. If the area of operation is beyond the world, you are using the subtler aspect of the intellect. So that's the distinction.
Thank you.
But when you have both, definitely you use it in the gross world as well as to discuss Vedantic concepts. So yes, person can switch between both.
Amiji,
Yes.
just because you mentioned it, can you maybe spend a couple words and explain the difference between intrinsic versus extrinsic illusion?
See, I mentioned that in passing, and that's not what we are studying here, right? It will be like a complete deviation, but because everybody knows that here, most of you are aware of that. So therefore, in passing, I said, when you are dealing with such subtle Vedantic concepts, you're using your subtle intellect. But we'll study that one day when we take up Vedanta treatise, the eternities, and that's what we are planning in the spring of or the fall of 26. Are you doing e-learning?
Yeah, I do. And I know I have heard it. I just forgot the meaning. I will look it up.
Yes, you can. I mean, at this stage, don't worry if you have already covered that portion. When we take it up, we will do that. Or you can, if you have a question, you can send it to this Q&A. That is the reason we have question and answer format, right?
Okay.
So this
Will do.
is an
Thanks.
opportunity to clarify your doubts. So are we okay?
Yes.
Great. So let's move on to the next topic. The part intellect plays. So again, systematically he is explaining. Raji.
The part the intellect plays all through one's lifetime. The human mind needs to be monitored by a discerning intellect. The mind has a natural tendency to stray into various worldly attractions. The intellect alone has the ability to pull it back to follow the path of discretion. Just as a car moving in a highway tends to sway to either the right or the left if the driver does not use the steering wheel. The steering wheel must be employed all the time to keep the car moving straight on the road ahead. The intellect is the steering wheel of life. You need to use it at all times to remain sane and move forward to fulfill your life's mission.
So important point. What we learn here, that mind has a tendency, everybody's mind, my mind, your mind, any human being's mind, to gravitate towards worldly attractions, sense objects. There is a natural push and pull throughout your life. And if intellect is weak, you can succumb to these temptations and you could get into serious trouble at times. It's not that every time you're going to get into trouble, but you could get into serious trouble. So you may totally deviate from your mission, worldly mission, spiritual mission. The same principle applies. See, I know one gentleman in Canada. It's a real life story. Very successful person, either in IT or insurance, I forget, but quite well to do. He was in a senior level. Everything is going fine. Lot of savings and all that. House was fully paid for. He was in his early 40s or mid 40s, something like that. And suddenly he got involved in trading on stock market. You understand trading, he started speculating. He started with $5,000 a week. He earned some money, made $10,000. He got tempted, $20,000. He lost. Again, he invested. To cut the long story short, all his savings were wiped out. All his savings were wiped out practically. What saved him is whatever you invest in government. You get my point. And so much so that some of his friends, they started helping him. He had very good childhood friends. So they got together and I think they helped him to pay his children's tuition or something like that. Yeah. I think some similar story I heard here in Detroit. I don't know. Somebody told me that his friend started trading. I think Veera told me, I don't know. Long time.
Yes, Abhijit.
Jigar maybe.
Like I told Abhijit. Yeah.
Oh, you told me.
I also told you, Amiji, there is one more incident.
Oh, so there are so many people. Okay. So I'm giving you one example. Or it could be fine. You may not have that weakness. Suddenly you start a business for no reason. I mean, it's nothing wrong with business, but that's not your expertise. Where is our friend? I don't see him here. I don't want to give personal examples. Anyway, he's visiting India right now. I mean, everything going well. And when I came back from India, every year I go for 5-6 weeks, And when I came back, suddenly he invited me to his spa. It came out of no, he never, because he knew what would be my answer. He was scared, quietly he started. And I don't know, at least $500,000 he lost. So even now I am helping him with his finances, where to invest, where not to invest. Don't come to me, please. I'm not a financial advisor. But in his case, it was necessary, and his money has really multiplied. He was showing me the statement, and I said, no, 5 times more is required, then you are secured. So out of nowhere, third person may get involved in gambling. I mean, we can go on multiplying examples, or some expensive habits. Everything is under control, and you see the purse, what is that? $100,000, $150,000 purse you get, that brand. I always give this example, I forgot.
The Birkin.
The Birkins. I mean, the $50,000, $75,000 purse. I'm not saying you should not buy, but do you really need that? That temptation, I want to buy 3 Birkin purses, can wipe out your finances. You could get into trouble. So, therefore, intellect has to monitor mind's demands all the times, 24/7. And if you're not aware, you could get into trouble. So I gave 3 to 4 examples. So either you can deviate from your own professional goals or even from spiritual goal. I've seen a lot of people are sincere as far as their spiritual pursuit is concerned, but somewhere they get sucked in and they fall off. It's not easy to maintain that consistency of efforts, that fixation on the spiritual path. You get sucked into the world somewhere or the other. So therefore, he gives that car and a steering wheel example. It's very practical example. Don't say I use autopilot all the time. I don't understand this example. Something is controlling the car. So autopilot is automatically your intellect controls. That autopilot has to be there in you, but it's not easy. It takes years and years of efforts. And those who are in software, they will know what I'm talking about. Like Tesla autopilot is very advanced, or GM Super Cruise. But amount of efforts which has gone in. And now when you drive, you just sit there looking here and there, admire the nature. Car is driving itself, but amount of research which has gone in. So tremendous efforts are required. Then you are well guarded against mind's temptations, but it's not easy. So that is number one point. The second point is your ability to face challenges of life. And life is nothing but challenges. It's a question of more or less. And only if you have a powerful intellect, you will be able to deal with challenging situations in life, at home, at work, anywhere. If intellect is not powerful, mind will take over, and even a small challenge, you will buckle. There are people who can't even handle weather challenge, or somebody says something at home, spouse says some nasty words, or in the workplace somebody is trying to be tough with you for whatever reasons. So they can't handle even petty challenges. Forget about the real challenges of life. So only when you have a powerful intellect, it will protect you from these challenges. Challenges will be there. That is life, my life, your life. But whether to succumb to challenges or not, you have that capacity. And what gives you that capacity is nothing but this knowledge, the study of scriptures with which you think, you put efforts, you convert knowledge into wisdom, and that wisdom is nothing but powerful intellect. So, important facet of our life. So, can we read that, please? Next 2 paragraphs.
The vehicle has also to be provided with shock absorbers to have a smooth ride over the rough and rugged roads. So does a human being need the wisdom of Vedanta to take care of the trials and tribulations of the world, the knocks and shocks of life. Initially, you must acquire the knowledge of Vedanta, which the author of the book has carefully prepared from the literature laid down by the ancient sages of India thousands of years back. Thereafter, you need to reflect upon the knowledge acquired with your intellect until you absorb it, make it your own. The knowledge then settles down as wisdom. You need that wisdom to have a peaceful and progressive life in and through the variations of the external world. It is in your interest to find out how prepared are you to meet the various challenges that confront you in life. Here is a simple example taken from real life to help you determine your present state. A person returning from a friend's dinner party realizes he has left behind his ball pen, an ordinary, inexpensive one. Would he drive back to pick up the pen? Would he even bother to phone his friend to inquire? What is the loss of a pen to him? Now, the pen is very much with him, but he finds his wristwatch missing. How do you handle that? Perhaps call his friend the next morning to find out if it is there for him to pick it up later. Imagine his pen and watch are with him, but on reaching the car park that night, his newly purchased car is missing. What would the loss of the car mean to him? Stretching it further, the pen, the watch, and the car are with him, and he drives home to find his beautiful house completely gutted, burnt to ashes. How would that affect him? Now imagine the worst. All these are intact, and he reaches his house to hear that his wife and 2 children have met with a fatal accident. What impact would the sudden death of his family have on him?
Please continue.
Now carefully study these probabilities in one's life. The loss of a ball pen through the loss of a family, and project them on your person. Find out where exactly do you stand from the pen to the family. At what level would you cave in, collapse? If you are disturbed at a low level, at the simplest of challenges, your personality is in poor shape. Thus, when the mind becomes agitated, it shows the lack of intellectual strength to manage any of life's challenges. You need to develop your intellect forthwith. If, on the contrary, you are able to take your greatest challenge with ease, accept even death as an inevitable end, you have then reached a high level of self-development. However, one does not expect tragedies to occur in life, though one ought to be well prepared for any such eventuality. But if a person expects adverse happenings all the time, he would be deemed a pessimist, whereas another, fully prepared for the worst, would be a philosopher, replete with wisdom, peaceful and progressive at all times, regardless of what situation or circumstance he meets in life.
So it is in your interest to find out what is your capacity. If small challenges are bothering you, you know you are in a poor shape. But still it can be fixed. So you don't have to worry. As a human being, we have that capacity. But you introspect and you find out. If somebody cuts you off on the road and says nasty things, if your day is spoiled, you know it's a very poor, you're in a very poor shape. Or you can't handle challenges, you know, no big deal. You take it in your stride. Then you know you're in the right direction. But for that, you need a superior intellect, without which it is not possible. Mind will overpower your personality with agitations, worry, and anxiety. So these are the two main points. The first is mind needs constant monitoring. The second is that ability to face challenges of life. For that, you need powerful intellect. And if mind remains agitated when you encounter challenges in life, you know, when you experience pairs of opposites in life, then how can you study and reflect? It's not possible. You need basic amount of calmness to study and reflect, isn't it? So it affects all facets of your life, your personal life, your professional life, your spiritual life, everything is affected. So think about it. And if something is not clear, bring it up next week. So are we okay?
Yes.
I have one question.
Please.
If challenges of the life you cannot handle, is it depend on your desires also?
Yeah, everything depends on see attachment in this case. The right word would be desire. When it's pronounced, it is attachment. So I'm magnifying. I mean, if you lose your partner, if you are absolutely possessive, attached to your partner, you'll collapse. I mean, I can give that example. I don't want to be personal because I lost my partner 6-7 years back. If I was totally attached, totally possessive about her, I would have collapsed. So everything boils down to desire, but then how it functions. You become possessive, you become attached, and how you become, when you become possessive, when you become attached, when mind overpowers your personality. When intellect is powerful, then you govern the mind, you lecture your mind, you tell the mind, stop this nonsense. So to answer your question, yes, but that desire is nothing but mind.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yes, thank you.
Any other doubts? All right, so let's conclude for today, and I'll see you next either Saturday or Sunday.
Thank you, Amitji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy Easter to everybody.
Yeah, happy Easter to everybody.
Happy Easter.
Thank you.